I've invested millions and millions of dollars, into the well-being of my child. She's broken. She's broken. So for me personally, I have to figure out what that looks like. And I'm willing to do anything to protect my child, to make sure that they get the best care possible, to ensure that hopefully she can recover from this.
Hey, welcome back. This is Individual Perspective Podcast. I am your host, Daris D. McKinney. Shambles. What's the other word? Was it shambles? And there's another word that he redundantly used because some person told him, you gotta use this in the keyword and keep saying shambles. She's in shambles. She's in shambles. Wild stuff. I know. I come in and I'm kind of. I didn't even do a podcast because it's a continuation podcast that I got to do. I'm queued up. I'm letting you know I'm queued up to continue the podcast that we were pretty much at. Just let you know. Got lead attorney. That's what we're gonna start with first. But I got where we left off at. You know what I mean? But I had to come in because of the whole way that Anton handled it. It was really interesting. And it's overwhelming when I always say when we come on these podcasts and we voice our opinion and everything like that, or we communicate our point of view of stuff, certain things and everything, we're I think it's more important to stay in context. Stay in context, stay in truth, and make sure whatever you're communicating, it can live up to scrutiny for years to come. There's no reason to say something out your mouth that is just a way you feel or a perspective that you have at the moment and everything like that. You could do that in the privacy of your own home or at a dinner, at a restaurant, at a bar. Or you could do that like around your family members and stuff like that. But once you do a podcast and you're recording it, or even if you're doing a vlog or something and you're posting it into a server, it should live up to scrutiny. It should be able to run through time and have justification of purpose and point. So for me, it's like when I see that kind of stuff, I think one of the things that Anton has going for himself is that he's a highly economically successful person, because that holds you high over no matter how much your character is destroyed, no matter how much your principles are destroyed, no matter how much in the air, like I'm not saying his is, I'm just framing it right now. No matter how much your principles, your baseline, is really is unstable in the context of truth and validity. And I think it doesn't even matter when you're rich and you're got enough motion for yourself that you could override it with just your core group. And that's a good thing, really it is, because under no circumstances, I'm glad that the public don't have to lean on people like Howard Stern and stuff like that. A person that's totally destroyed the purpose of the First Amendment and advocated like 20 years against it. You know what I mean? It's my perspective. It's my opinion. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about them. But at the same time, if you go through the history and the structure of Anton Daniels, you see that he was never really for the First Amendment. It's based on the conditions, okay? And I always say that the Ivy League people, the rich people, the highly successful people, the people with the bigger microphones and everything, they would challenge you to challenge their theory of things and their conclusion of things and how they perceive things that you may not have validity to how you perceive it because they have the bigger microphone. You just gotta, it's not about you, it's not about them, it's about the truth. And when you let that be your guide, don't argue, don't debate, don't say anything to a person if you don't have a full command of your faculties and that you can actually articulate yourself through the scholastic method. Okay? And that's a way of communicating and going back and forth into stability of perspective wins out. And that's how you know what it's got foundation and substance to it, and it's most likely the truth. Okay? So what I want to do, because I want to say a lot, but inside I'm kind of sad, but at the same time I'm angry. And in context of the time that we're living in, we're fucked. There's nothing left but to be self-indulgent. Enjoy your life. Get as much as you can out of life and enjoy your life. And cast aside community. Cast aside unification. Cast aside togetherness. The truth of the matter is, in this society that we're living in, you're best to take care of the head of the house, or whoever's the command of the house, or the relationship and all that. Keep that stable, because that is able to stabilize the people around the hub, the head. Once the people that get stable around that person, that's good enough, cause and effect to live some kind of proximity of a happy coexistence with the people, enough people. But anybody outside that core group, core collaboration, they better have a purpose or there's no relationship. Now, I found this out a few years ago. I didn't really, I spent years fighting against what was subconsciously and common sense known. So I didn't really like, I knew that the science and the mathematics told me this is how you got to move. But I fought against it because, you know, maybe the loss of my brother and stuff, watching him kind of die like that, it was just like, man, this, like, it's a lot of darkness, you know? And I knew you got to take the steering wheel. Got to take the steering wheel to your life. Don't let nobody drive your car. Nobody. You know, just take the steering wheel to the car of your life. Don't let anybody drive your car. And kind of knowing that, I think I subconsciously, because probably how I was raised and the culture and the society around me made me kind of have some subconscious of doubt. So I never really gave fully in to the dominant. And then I kind of went into like the corporate world, working in the corporate world around a lot of big, powerful people, dealing with financial consultants and different stuff like that, and moguls and stuff, and execs and CEOs. And you kind of see how they moved. And I said, hey, I gotta give consciousness to what I'm seeing and with the communication I'm hearing and how they're interacting and what they say. And I got to understand that that's the game, you know? And I do a disservice to myself by trying to act like it's not, because I want to have some relativeness to people. And the truth of the matter, that's what it is, you know? So what I did was kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I did that for a lot of years. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And then I had awakening about 8 years ago. Like, I said, like, man, I got to give my life all that I have, and I want to live my life. Because at least if you're on your deathbed, it would be stupid to die of 50, 60, 70 years old, and you didn't even give 10 years to do you. Like, not fruitless stuff. I'm talking about whatever your goals are, your passion is, and the things that you really know how to do and execute on your skill level, what you're great at. Jump in it. You know what I mean? And I told myself, you know what? I'm going to give myself 10 years. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Now, by the 5th year, I was supposed to kind of get my wheels turned. By that time, I wanted to get my wheels, and I would go out there and really do the big thing, making a film or something. You know what I mean? The big stuff. I'll say 5 months in, I did that. Instead of 5 years, I jumped in 5 months in. I think every year after, I was doing one movie after another. Though it was such a financial strain that I couldn't kind of go straight into post production on the films, because it wasn't smart for the presentation. But what I would do is I would accumulate multiple movies. That way I had a pretty decent handful of catalog of film. And then I told myself I'll take about a couple years and kick ass and do some really high-end presentations. Because when you watch a movie, the number one thing you love about the movie is the presentation. What you hear, how it fades in and how it fades out, and all the structure in between that you're not conscious of, but it's part of the presentation. It is the presentation. Yes, you need the production done, but also what's more valuable than the production is how do you piece this together to make people feel and get across and have some kind of loyalty to what you did. And that takes a little bird's eye view and very calculated and psychological play to how the human brain, the human heart, how it moves towards presentation, film. media, stuff like that. But make a long story short, so in the midst of all that, I had to, you can't be an egomaniac about yourself, otherwise you're not gonna get nothing done. So you gotta move through the situation the best way you can, and you just, get to the end results. That's all that matters. But the reason why I say this is because as I stand here now and I say, you kind of know what's going on with people and things, and even these podcasters and social influencers and stuff like that, you kind of get it, you kind of get what's going on there and everything. But it's all a theory too, until they come out and say it. Even if they say it, they kind of somewhat say it in a very, manipulating way to say fuck you, but not fuck you. You get what I'm saying? And then when the truth comes out and when you get information that just says it is what it is, as a podcaster and for individual perspective, I already you guys got to watch the previous episodes before. Like I said, a lot of my episodes, excuse me, I'm going to go back in and kind of take a little bit of the stuttering and some of the hesitations out and everything so it could be a better flow. But I pretty much know what I'm doing here, and I pretty much have an understanding of what podcasting is and why you should do it and have a purpose of doing it. And I'm going to say that it's the truth. That's got to be your driving force, or my driving force, when I'm doing this show. No matter what I'm saying, most likely it's got to come out to be the truth. Okay? So, in the previous episode, the reason why I held off a couple of days, literally, there's a lot of days, was because Anton Daniels responded to Corey Holcomb using his daughter and talking about his wife and stuff, talking about his daughter, talking about his wife, and it was raw. It was funny and it was raw. You know what I mean? But that's what comedians do. Like I told you guys, they point out the irony of things. So his response was pretty interesting, and I'm gonna go through the details of it. In addition to that, it made it like, it was like I don't want to mock it, but he was kind of saying that his underage daughter, he kind of made it seem like a essay, like Corey Holcomb essayed his daughter or something. So that's how extreme he went to it. And it's like, wow, man, how the hell are you telling me that you want us to believe that a well thought out, high intellectual, can do person like Anton Daniels have never sat down with his family and said, hey, I'm opening myself pretty hardcore to the public, and they might scrutinize us, how we look, everything. They gotta, because I'm gonna win, and they gotta use something against me. So everything's on the table when you're in the public eye. You know what I mean? What if somebody seen Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes' daughter, Siri, and said, oh, she's ugly, on a podcast or something? Tom Cruise should, gut that person. The lead attorney says she should, which I think that's pretty ridiculous. You get what I'm saying? But I want to bring that up because Anton's giving off of, he's not technically saying it, but he's giving off a air of a vibe that he's gonna sue Corey for everything he got. You know what I mean? So let's start with the lead attorney, and then I can navigate through this because my emotions is in it a little bit, and my temperament is in it, and I don't want to start using F words and stuff. And I don't have no problem with Anton. I have a problem with our country and how we move, and just what we did to individuality in our own constitutions. Like, I can't step on your constitutional rights and want the society to uphold mine. It's crazy, you know? So what we're going to do is we're not going to go to Corey Holcomb and finish it up right now. We're going to go back to it, but right now I need to go to the lead attorney. Okay? Lead attorney, okay? Great, well-communicated journeys. You can see how he, what's his name? Kevin Samuel touched his way he does things and way he moves and stuff like that. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. Okay, we're gonna have the lead attorney, because what he's gonna do is he's gonna actually go through the actual how can I say, the actual First Amendment, okay? Because you can't really talk about Corey Holcomb or Anton Daniels and all that stuff until you see how the world, how this country deals with our rights.
Bam. The First Amendment. All right. The First Amendment. This is
Gemini. I think this is Google's Gemini system, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. But it looks like the system within it is called Live Stream Legal Explainer, Civil Claims Analyst, and Risk Assessment. First Amendment, and I'll let him kind of go through it, and then I'll come in with my commentary around it.
first thing. It's the first thing. It's the first thing that should come up. It's like, man, I can say what I want to say, goddamn it. If Anton pissing me off, fuck Anton. If his wife pissing me off, fuck her too. Shit, if the kid, don't he got a kid? I can say what I want, right? It's the First Amendment. Numero uno.
And the First Amendment, and everybody knows this, but I think we're so much into hip hop, we're still so much into media communication and podcasting and social influencers and everything. Everybody talk about the Constitution and all that stuff like that, but they don't really tell you how important it was to a living and dying person. So for the duration of your full life, the Constitution wanted your First Amendment to be upheld. That no matter who it is, you can say whatever the hell you want. Whatever the hell you want. I'm not talking about Anton. I'm not talking about Corey. I'm talking about the First Amendment. We have to understand that. I'm going to tell y'all this. There's no concessions to the First Amendment. Okay? A broken society is when we give, like when you make a statue, or how they say, when you amend the actual amendment, your constitutional rights, they're supposed to be in construction of your rights. Do you understand that? So if every man is free in the Constitution, in the Declaration of it all, and the foundation of the Constitution. In order, if it's the discrepancy between whites and rich people and poor people and senators and the congressmen and the president, of who is a free man, who has a right to be free, what genetic or ethnic group has the right to be a free man under the Constitution. If there's some kind of weird, ridiculous banter or debate about this, they made the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment to rectify everybody is. No matter what I don't care if there's a slave, once the Constitution was signed, they had rights under the Constitution. All their rights falls under the Constitution as an individual human being. You get what I'm saying? And so it's an error in administration of the Constitution. Why officially, once it came into law and it was signed, why every slave wasn't free at that moment. As soon as the Constitution was written up, in the first 11 amendments was written up, it automatically made black people free. They try to say, well, black people in the Constitution, they say black people are 3/4 of a man or some stuff like that. Really, it's ridiculous jargon and debate within society. It was black people was free as soon as the actual Constitution was signed into law. But because of the craziness of, Democrats, I'm going to say it, because you can't say Republicans, because there was no Republican Party until a party came together in order to form something, a political party to get rid of the Democrats, because they wouldn't kind of do anything to stop slavery or outlaw slavery. So, the group of guys, lawyers and stuff from Chicago and everything, grouped together to build the Republican Party to be an opposition party to. At that time, the Democrat Party was called the Democrat Republic Party or something like that. But the Republicans, they came into existence because there was the Whig Party, the Democrat Republic Party. They didn't want to get rid of slavery. None of them. None of the political parties that was in play, they didn't want to get rid of it. So they had to create a party in order to get people elected and then be able to somewhat get some notoriety and some clout enough to run for president to get rid of the slavery. You know what I mean? So that's how that is. I didn't mean to go so much into that. But the First Amendment, the purpose of the First Amendment was that through 2,000 years of Earth, and even in let's say 5 to 1,000 years, it's been ran by kings and heirs of and peasants and royalty and all this other stuff. And the people that kind of came over here to form America, they really hated England and how England moved, because if you could get killed if you say something bad about the king, or you say, or you start a organization or a vibe or some collective of people communicating anti-king stuff, you get really messed up. You know what I mean? So the First Amendment was there to say, like, I don't care who you are. I don't care how you think. I don't care what you think that's in your best interest. Whatever comes out of my mouth, I had the freedom to say it. Your physicality can't be brought against me for something I verbally say. You know what I'm saying? You have public area. You have your actual house where your property line is. And if I cross over to that, then I'm in your territory, and my life is independence to your mercy. But in the public town square, in communication of earth, and in an environment of, however, if you don't like what I'm saying, don't watch my video. Don't watch my channel. But I'm able to say whatever I want to say. The consequences is you might jump the gun and decide to go turn what I said into a physical violence. That's a consequence of me communicating what I'm saying, but you have to suffer the consequence that you actually turned verbal communication into a physical altercation. So what's your consequence? So that's why laws and statutes were created, to make sure that there's a repercussion for infringing on someone's rights. When a person turns a verbal conversation into, or a verbal communication into, a physical altercation, the consequences is the law to reprimand or punish the person that turned it into a physical confrontation. The law should not be where you have the right to turn something I say into a physical interaction. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's how you need to look at this. So I'm going to start off and just jump in and say, I don't give a shit about the lead attorney being an attorney. I think he's an awesome communicator. I love how he speaks. I love what he's doing. I'm going to actually watch his show a whole lot more, you know. But he's 100% that he's about to say through this whole damn thing completely idiotic and wrong. And his job is to fight for you and your absolute freedom. But nobody's going to do that. Why? Because you got to take all the statutes in America, from local court to the appeals court to the Supreme Court of your state to the actual U.S. Supreme Court, in order to strike out all statutes and all laws that are illegitimate to your constitutional rights. Nobody's going to do that. So all these statutes, all these interpretations, all these perspectives of shitty ass Supreme Court justices are the land of the rules and order of the land that we live. You had Supreme Court justice give an interpretation of a constitutional right into what they thought was the best outcome for most people, and that's not what their job is. Their job is black and white. What is a First Amendment right? Can I say anything I want? Anything. You're never supposed to say, "Oh, well, you can say anything you want except yell fire in a crowded room." I can yell fire in a crowded fucking room all I want. It's my freedom of speech.
Right?
If I do it inside of a actual establishment, that establishment can give me a consequence for me doing that, and say, "Hey, there's no fire, and you can cause chaos and stuff. So we're kicking you out, and you can never be on this property again." Because I maliciously yelled fire in a crowded room. But yes, we gotta all suffer the consequences of one person yelling fire in a crowded room, and then a whole bunch of people panic and start stumbling over each other and all that stuff and killing each other as they try to trample out away from the supposed fire they don't even see, but they just heard a person say fire and everybody start freaking out. The consequences of us all freaking out is our death. Getting trampled. Not that the guy didn't have the right to have a safe fire in a crowded room. Now he's the cause of people getting killed, and there's a consequence for that. Okay? So, I know that sounds wild, but how do you rule people in they out of the ways to rule people, they found so many ways to do 100 statues of the same thing. You know, if you maliciously start a actual a riot or a stampede or something like that, then you could get tried for maliciously doing that. You had to get the evidence of why you give fire in a crowded room, and then counteracting to the witnesses that was there and everything like that. They could communicate their side from the state or the government, and then appears like yours. What they say, you'll be judged by the audience of your peer audience, pretty much your neighbors and stuff like that. Which I think nowadays, that's the worst thing that could ever happen to a person, to get judged by any of the people that live in this country. They're complete morons. That's terrible to get judged. You know, that's just ridiculous. They're too dumb. They're emotional. You got jury people that's on the jury that's like not logical. They're not following the evidence. They're not like keeping true to the person's rights and the Constitution, and you know, and anything that falls up, because some punishments, some rulings could be totally against your rights, and it's like that's a feeling, that's a perception, and common sense or something. No, give me facts, evidence. So that's a whole nother thing. But your First Amendment right is that you can say anything you want, anything you want. So how does that hold up to I know that we can't say everything we want because we don't live in a freedom of speech society. We don't. So I know the real thing is you can't say anything you want. You don't have a First Amendment. You don't have a freedom of speech. You get what I'm saying? I know that's the ruling societal rules in our country. We don't have freedom of speech.
Shout out to Simon said, well, I would fail law school. No, yeah, this is y'all's first day. All right, your first day on law school, first day in con law. This is what we call con law, constitutional law. It's the First Amendment. The First Amendment of what? Of the Constitution. All right. So important stuff to know. It is one of the most important protections in America. Gives you the right to criticize.
It's not one of the most important rules in America. Do you understand that? I want you guys to follow me. It's not one of the most important rules in the country. So whoever did this shit, even if it's AI, is some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? The First Amendment is the most important law, most important rule of our government. It's the most important. It's the First Amendment, y'all. It's number one. That means they didn't have like, okay, so what do we want to do first? We didn't know. They decided out of all the things that they wanted to make sure was part of our rights. They said, okay, number one, we all come to agreement. Nothing could come before the First Amendment, right? And then they went to the second. Okay, nothing could come before this. Our ability to protect our First Amendment. For some reason, whatever the thought process was for the colonialists to come over here and build a government in America, no matter what it was, whatever the situation was, they were so no matter what their ideology was, it was so big for them to be able to say what they wanted to say to the king. That was something that was just so important to them. They felt people getting killed and murdered and all kind of stuff and lynched and everything, and not being able to say stuff to the king or to the higher authorities and to the majesty, the royalty. They felt like under no circumstances do they care about anything but having a right to speak their mind. So that's why they made it the First Amendment, and they made the Second Amendment to protect it. We got statutes, we got derivative of amendments and everything to stop people from purchasing tanks and ships and all kind of stuff. You're supposed to be able to have the power to overthrow your government at any given day. That's what the Second Amendment is. The power to overthrow your government. So that means the citizens, Tom Cruise, Denzel Washington, Elon Musk must have the power to buy tanks and ships and whatever it takes to make sure the people can always overthrow their government if they have to. That's the purpose of that. But it's number one. It's the Second Amendment. The number one thing is for the Second Amendment is the ability to protect the First Amendment. That's the purpose of the Second Amendment. Is the ability to protect the First Amendment. Protect it from who? Government. Okay? So when he says one of them, that's sparsing. He's sparsing. He's kind of he's flooding and muddying the communication of the word, of communication, of structure, of thought, of action. He's muddying it by not saying it's the first and it's the most important law and ruling of the people. The ability to say what the fuck you want. Excuse my language, but this is going to get very harsh. And if you watch my previous episodes, I'm not cussing all the time. But my blood pressure's up now. Okay? So, let's go.
Gives you the right to criticize others. Was Anton critical? Was Corey critical?
Was Anton critical or was Corey critical? It doesn't say criticize, and this is where I gotta pull up the Constitution too? Jesus, man. Oh. Because when they start to do this interpretation and perspective, and then AI is even doing a parsing of the Constitution. This is sad, man. This is sad. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. See if I can I would like to get a really high-res, detailed photo of the original Constitution, and we can read that. Let's see. See if we get a accurate reading of it. Let's see how this is. Let's see how Hillsdale. Yeah, Hillsdale do for us. Okay, y'all see that? Y'all see that? Yes.
We the people of the
Oh, y'all seen that? I had a problem with spelling Constitution.
United States, in order to form a more perfect union,
When in the course of human events,
it provides a form of government. And when you read it, I regard it as beautiful and think I understand why it's beautiful. It has to do with its structure, which Madison says is the most important thing about it.
And this is Hillsdale College, and they do really good teachings of government and constitutional rights and all that good stuff. But here we go. I'll keep them going.
But, on any given passage, right, it's full of details. Like there's a list in Article 1, Section 8, things the Congress can do. Well, post offices and post roads is among them.
Yeah, maybe they got us. They're going to the first, like the structure of it, and I want to do I want to do an episode on this in itself, but I'm not trying to hold you guys up. I'm trying to go to the First Amendment though, because it's the Constitution and then it's the amendments to the Constitution. Things to better explain or detail, make sure things are added to it to make sure you understand what the Constitution means. And just in case they didn't want to leave any interpretation to certain things, so they made amendments to actually say these amendments rectify and better explain all the things that we already put in the Constitution, but we wanted to be specific. So here we go.
To the federal government. And just think what a different thing in kind that is. Like Hillsdale College has Articles of Incorporation.
Okay, maybe it's in the second one because I don't see it in this one. Give me a second, y'all. I'm trying to track it down. Okay. Natural rights and the American Revolution. I'm trying to see if they give me this first. They're going through a detailed breakdown of this. I do want to just have the First Amendment.
The revolution. Because it was the issue was, can the British impose governments are instituted among men, nation or community? Protective duty, so you're not guilty.
So they're kind
Let's
of
examine.
giving you a foundation of the country. But let me say the First Amendment. How did that not come up when you hit it in like the Google search? Ridiculous. Okay, here we go. Let's just do this quick one right quick. It took 13 minutes to explain what the First Amendment is.
First, freedom of conscience is an course of American history. First, freedom of talk about why the founders believed that Congress can make no law, abridging the freedom of speech.
Yeah, so let's do this. Okay, let's go.
I'm Jeffrey Rosen, and I'm here at the National Constitution Center in front of the First Amendment tablet. Let's talk about why the founders believed that Congress can make no law, abridging the freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition.
You understand that? We broke this is like we broke this amendment a long time ago. You get what I'm saying? Because ain't no way they supposed to make a statute to go against your freedom of speech. That's what abridging means, meaning that they can't make a law that makes exceptions of. You get what I'm saying? Oh, you have freedom of speech except if you do this. You have freedom of speech, except if you do this. You can't do that. That's abridging. That's giving what ifs to. It's making a law. I'm sorry for stuttering about this, but I'm trying to get through this really quick and say exactly what I need to say. I'm sure you guys know what abridging is, but I'm saying this for the people that's kind of probably listening to this as a podcast. You cannot give a derivative definition to freedom of speech. And you can't make laws that subverts or, let's say, waters down the First Amendment. That's what it's saying.
Religion, assembly, and petition.
Say,
no law abridging the freedom of speech in front of the First Amendment tablet. Let's talk about why. The tablet.
And that tablet, you see, it says, Congress shall make no laws respecting, and then I can't really see all of it, but they're gonna communicate it even more. They put the stupid title of the show on a big board and put it over it, but I wish they kind of left that alone. Or maybe they didn't, because I guess it separates it. So that area is supposed to be clear anyway, so yeah. Oh, it's the National Constitution Center, so it's supposed to be like that. So Congress shall make no laws respecting, and I guess I don't know what this is with the because there's a flag in the way, but I'll let him read it because I can't see it all, because even it said prohibiting, abridging, or, and then the, you can't even see the all the way, and it's because something behind the actual flag. But I'll let him say it. Go ahead.
Let's talk about why the founders believed that Congress can make no law abridging the freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition. Well, they had.
Okay. Assembly. Assembly means gathering together, voicing your opinion, saying what your views are, and everything like that. Assembly needs to be structured, though. You know what I mean? But look, that's a whole nother situation. Assembly is, it's just crazy. Once you start breaking laws or subverting laws, like our government, the citizens not doing all this stuff. The government is. Senators, congressmen, judges, plaintiffs, and defense attorneys. They're bridging and restructuring what our rights are in order to give favorability to their biased situation. And that's why we don't really have a government anymore. It's all shit. It really is.
Four reasons, which have been developed by the Supreme Court over the course of American history. First, freedom of conscience is an unalienable right because people have the right and the duty to think for themselves. Second, free speech makes our representatives accountable to we the people. Third, free speech is necessary for the discovery of truth and the rejection of falsehood. And fourth, free speech allows the public discussion necessary for democratic self-government.
Okay. Now, these are opinions that the Supreme Court gave to give more clarity to the First Amendment. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because as you hear what the First Amendment is, it doesn't matter what the Supreme Court interprets the laws to be or what it means. All the things that come out of their mouth need to be a representation of what the original documents, what the original context says. Okay? And remember, the context is the U.S. government has no right to abridge your First Amendment, your freedom of speech, okay? For abridging the freedom of speech, meaning that it's not for the Supreme Court to interpret it. It must always revert back to the person has First Amendment rights, though. Well, but he said something about my daughter. But the person got First Amendment rights. It sucks, but that's our laws and it's our constitutional rights. That's how it should be communicated. I'm not taking a side of Corey. I'm an anti-Daniel supporter. I don't really watch Corey Holcomb. I know exactly who anti-Daniels is. But how they going about this, I just like, okay, dude, like, man, like, if you fall apart and your principles fall apart, that's okay for your self-preservation. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him doing whatever he got to do for self-preservation. But under no circumstances do I not point it out. That's not who you are and what your principles are and how you really think should be communicated to myself and to how I communicate to the audience, so I can have it on the record of what really happened and what's really going on and what's the truth of the matter is. Yes, self-preservation, absolutely. I'm getting it. Look, it took me a long time to jump on the self-preservation bandwagon. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a person of, like, fight together. You come together and do whatever it takes to win. You know what I mean? If each other is not doing something to hurt what you're doing, then you do whatever it takes to win together. But that's a joke. Self-preservation is the game. And most people, they're going to be ants because they didn't preserve themselves good enough, or they didn't have self-preservation play good enough in their life. But as I say this, I just want you guys to understand what the First Amendment rights are, okay? I'm going to let him speak a little bit more. He's given, like I said, he's given the derivative, then we'll go back to the lead attorney.
Remarkably, all four of these reasons are clearly and brilliantly expressed in two texts that we're going to talk about today. Thomas Jefferson's original draft of his Virginia Bill for Establishing Religious Freedom from 1777, and Justice Brandeis's opinion in Whitney versus California from 1927. Let's begin with Jefferson's bill, which he drafted after returning to Virginia from Philadelphia when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson considered his religious freedom bill among the three most important accomplishments of his life, important enough to be inscribed on his tombstone, along with his having drafted the Declaration of Independence and founded the University of Virginia. Under Virginia's colonial religious code at the time, all dissenters were required to support and attend the established Anglican Church. Presbyterians and Baptists could be arrested for practicing their faith or preaching the gospel.
And the reason why I'm letting that play, because I want you to see when Jefferson went home and he did a bill. Don't think that he did a bill in support of American citizens. He did a bill to have his own perceptions, his own, what he wanted the things to be like, find a way to import it into the government ruling. The Constitution and all the objective analysis to the Constitution was already subscribed. There's already structure to not abridging people's freedom of speech and their freedom of religion. So for him to make people go to churches and all that crazy stuff, he was kind of ruling in a way of a king in England.
Preaching the gospel. Be arrested for practicing their faith. Presbyterians and Baptists could be arrested. Presbyterians and Baptists could be arrested and attend the established Anglican Church. Presbyterians and Baptists could be arrested required to support and attend the established Anglican Church. Under Virginia's colonial religious code at the time, all dissenters were required to support and attend the established.
Okay, they're saying that he at the time they had a lot of England rulings and stuff, and he wanted to break up that. Okay, I get it. I'm sorry for Jefferson.
Anglican Church. Presbyterians and Baptists could be arrested for practicing their faith or preaching the gospel. Quakers and Jews and other dissenters could be denied the freedom to marry or to have custody of their own children. Jefferson proposed not only to disestablish the Anglican Church and remove all criminal punishments for dissent, but also to prohibit all compelled support for religion of any kind. He concluded that because freedom of conscience is a fundamental right, government can regulate overt acts against peace and good order, but it lacks all power to intrude into the field of opinion. Let's review each of Jefferson's 4 reasons. First, freedom of conscience is an unalienable right because people have the right and the duty to think for themselves. Jefferson said, well aware that the opinions and beliefs of men depend not on their own will, but follow involuntarily the evidence proposed to their minds,
Yep. Okay.
God hath created the mind free.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And that's good. That's good. I like that. That's good. That's actually accurate. His interpretation, I don't think it should be law, but his interpretation of it is actually giving validation to no government should infringe or abridge any law or governing against people's freedom of speech. That's what all this stuff is. All it is just giving validation to the original wording in the actual Constitution and the amendments, the First Amendment. So that's good. I'm okay with that.
And manifest
Excuse me for my ignorance of jumping on Jefferson and the first wording that the guy said. I should have just shut up and listened to it. I'm sorry.
his supreme will, that free it shall remain by making it altogether insusceptible of restraint. In other words, Jefferson argued, freedom of conscience is by definition an unalienable right, one that can't be alienated or surrendered to government, because our opinions are the involuntary result of the evidence contemplated by our reasoning minds. We can't give presidents or priests or teachers or fellow citizens the power to think for us, even if we wanted to, because we are endowed by our Creator with the capacity to reason, and therefore we can't help thinking for ourselves.
See? So even if someone has a terrible way of summarizing a thought process of grandiosis, okay, the way that they communicate how they view the ridiculous thought process of somebody else's grandiosis, you can't infringe on that. You got to allow them to communicate it themselves, and if they make contextual stuff to structure it where it's a way that they communicate your whole makings and your whole family or whatever, it's the way that they construct it, how your thought process is in a bigger picture, and what's the conclusion of your thought process, and what your structural foundation is, and the validness or the invalidness of it. That's look. I know. I'm just giving you what it is. Gotta respect your freedom of speech, y'all. I know y'all want to put muzzles on people and you want to correct ill communication, but Ku Klux Klan members got every right to say whatever the hell they want to do and assemble however they want to assemble, and all kind of haters and craziness and all the other stuff, okay? This is crazy. I know.
Second, free speech makes our representatives accountable to we the people. In his Religious Freedom Bill, Jefferson emphasized that it's crucial in a democracy for citizens to be able to criticize public officials, because legislators and religious leaders, being themselves fallible and uninspired, as Jefferson said, will always try to impose their own opinions and modes of thinking on others.
Absolutely.
Jefferson's prediction came to a...
And that's what our high society has done, too. Our social influencers, our high elite podcasters, our media, our anchors, our politicians, our governors, our senators, our city council members, all of them, movie stars, singers, they have put however they think things should go, they put their perception in there. And if a group of them file together and be in an echo chamber, it's like, oh, look, so many of us believe the same thing. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with the minute few of you guys' opinions? Because you're not as much as all of us. We're 60%. You're only 40%. So our way should be superimposed on you. No, it shouldn't. We don't give a shit what you say. You know, under no circumstances is a person's right supposed to be infringed on, even if the majority outvotes him. Why? Because it's his constitutional rights that needs to be upheld through everything and anything. That's the problem with our country. We're down the rabbit hole, and when you go do some research and you go back to this, you'll find out that a lot of the freedoms that we originally supposed to have, we lost in the 1930s. We really did. You know what I'm saying? We lost in the 1930s, and then from that point on, we started giving it away, like in the 1940s, 1950s. 60s, you know what I'm saying? We the 80s, the 90s, 2000, 9/11, because of 9/11, we just gave away our freedom. So we're just a shell of America right now, and we're on we are actually survived under a facade. It's not even real. It's an illusion that this country is still strong. You know what I mean? Just the fear of our military makes a lot of the people not cross the line. Fear of how people will react in life or death is the only thing that keeps us somewhat with this thing that I think it's like like if you tap it the wrong way, it's gonna shatter.
Head in the controversy over the Alien and Sedition Acts in 1798, when the Federalist Congress made it a crime to criticize the Federalist President, John Adams, but not the Republican Vice President, Thomas Jefferson. Third, free speech is necessary for the discovery of truth and the rejection of falsehood. Jefferson concludes his religious freedom bill with words expressing his unshakable faith in the power of reason and reasoned deliberation to distinguish truth from error. And the words that he used are inscribed in marble on the Jefferson Memorial in Washington. Truth is great and will prevail if left to herself. She is the proper and sufficient antagonist to error and has nothing to fear from the conflict unless by human interposition, disarmed of her natural weapons, free argument and debate.
Meaning that, and I like that. I really do like that. I like this. It's my first time watching this too, y'all. I just typed it up and got to it. I actually like that because he is saying that no matter how crazy something sounds or somebody's belief is or some rhetoric that somebody's saying, if people are able to communicate, if people are allowed to say what their opposition to it and what they think about it, the truth sounds so beautiful to the ear that it'll rise above the fray. You know what I mean? It'll rise above the junk and the noisiness, and it would stand on its own. It would be so strong and stable in its communication and its structure and its meaning and its spider webs and the dots it connects and stuff, that it will rise to the truth and beat out error and falsehood and stupid ideology. But if you cut it off, if like CBS, Disney, and all the different media, CNN, even Fox News now, if they all kind of do what they think is like what's mostly favorable by the people or the powerful people or the people that will give them repercussions to commercials and you know, and different little situations, because you got a lot. Fox News get broke by advertisers. They you know, they can't allow too much freedom to be going on their network because it'll stop Kellogg's, it'll stop Dove soap, it'll stop Pepsi, it'll stop Coca-Cola from advertising on their platform, buying ad revenue. So they gotta hire so many loony ass liberals to come on there voicing their opinion, doing that whack ass fair and balanced stuff, and you giving these people you giving them this voice to have all kind of inaccurate falsehood situation going on, but they match it with, hey, well, we'll let a Republican say what they want, we'll let a Democrat say what they want, and then we'll let you at home kind of be confused and wonder who is telling the truth because we're going to the next segment. And it's supposed to be like, no, I'll let you say your point, but this is what the actual truth is, and this is what the facts are. This is what was really said. Let's play the clip. Let's read this. The document. This is what was said. So you're lying, and you're telling the truth, or both of you lying, and I'm got to correct on the record so our audience can understand what the truth is, and then they can take it into their lives and advocate it and be against it or for it, however they want to deal with it. That's how it's supposed to be. But right now, it's so much manipulation to be favorable to money, be favorable to success, that like we don't care what the truth is anymore. It's irrelevant.
Fourth, free speech allows the public discussion necessary for democratic self-government. Jefferson believed that in a democracy, all citizens have an equal right and responsibility to exercise their rights of conscience. As he put it in the Virginia Bill, proscribing any citizen as unworthy the public confidence by laying upon him an incapacity of being called to offices of trust and emolument, unless he professes or renounces this or that religious opinion, is depriving him injuriously of those privileges and advantages to which, in common with his fellow citizens, he has a natural right.
Meaning that no matter how crazy, even if they did this for religious purposes, it's for the freedom of speech too. It holds up to the freedom of speech, y'all. Even if the person has a ridiculous, crazy ass opinion or something, or communication, or said something crazy or just ridiculous as unstable communication, he has the right to communicate it. That's his natural right to say what he wants to say, or she wants to say. You get what I'm saying? So
in 1927, in the greatest...
So I'm not going to go through the 1927 because all this, the reason why I wanted to play Jefferson's words, because that's literally like a year after them writing the Constitution, and he kind of wrote a bill just to make sure that it gave more clarity to what they originally wrote. So I understand that, and forgive my ignorance to my interpretation to the beginning of it.
Free speech opinion of the...
So let's go back to the lead attorney, okay? Okay.
You can speak harshly. Were these brothers speaking harshly?
Like he's framing it in were they speaking harshly to each other. It doesn't matter about what they were saying to each other. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant what they were saying to each other. The First Amendment right has nothing to do.
You're perfect.
It has nothing to do with the conversation that they had. It has to do with what their freedoms are to say what they want to say.
Bam. The First Amendment. All right.
And we're not in conversation about when he's reading this. It's got nothing to do with what they saying to each other, the freedom they have to say to each other. No, with the freedom they have to say, period, to each other, to the camera, to the audience that's listening, to this public that's outside that may come across the content. Whatever they want to communicate, they can communicate it. They have the freedom of speech of communicating it. Okay.
The First Amendment. This is the first thing. It's the first thing. It's the first thing that should come up. It's like, man, I can say what I want to say. God damn it. If Anton pissing me off, fuck Anton. If his wife pissing me off, fuck her too. Shit, if the kid
Yeah, but it's not as he can say anything he wants, no matter who who may come to him, even if it's not in preconceived of who that person might be. Fuck them too. Fuck everybody outside of me to what I want to say. That's what freedom of speech is. Look, I know it's dead. I know we don't uphold it. I know that this platform is a no freedom of speech zone. Okay, it's got so much like interpretation on how you can communicate. It's ridiculous. Okay, so I know what the truth is. I'm just telling you guys what it actually means. Okay.
Don't he got a kid? I can say what I want, right? It's the First Amendment, numero uno. Right?
It is.
Shout out to Simon said, well, I would fail law school. No, yeah, this is y'all's first day. All right, your first day on law school, first day in con law. This is what we call con law, constitutional law. It's the First Amendment. The First Amendment of what? Of the Constitution. All right. So important stuff to know. It is one of the most important protections.
It's the most important. Not one of. It's the most important protection in American law and American rights. It's the most important. It's more important than anything.
In America. Gives you the right to criticize others. Was Anton critical? Was Corey critical?
Doesn't matter. Criticize others. Everybody. Okay. These are their interpretations, and they're kind of abbreviating and summarizing what we just got through listening to in the gentleman's lecture on the reading of the Constitution, the First Amendment. Everything that he said in that. Remember, it's not I'll pull it up again. And I'm only gonna put up the wording of it, okay? So when I do mention it, I can actually read it, you know. Oh, I keep doing that. Okay, right here. Congress shall make no law respecting as an establishment of makes no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the rights of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievance. Okay, I think that's the original one. I think that's the original wording of it. Let's go look at one more. Just let's Wikipedia. First Amendment prevents. They're abbreviating it too. The handwritten copy. I like to see it. Okay, this is the actual text in the. Okay, inside of this is the actual text from it. There's no abbreviation. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech. So it's just like the other one was, or the press, or the rights of people to peacefully to assemble and to petition to petition the government for a redress of grievance. Okay, so that's actually in the wording of it. Perfect. I got you. Let's go back to the lead attorney.
You can speak harsh.
So this is a summary of that communication I just read to you. Okay, which I understand, it's all right. But he keeps putting in framing of, did they speak harshly to each other? Did they criticize each other? No. Criticize anybody. Anybody.
Were these brothers speaking harshly? Expressing unpopular opinions? Blue was like, hey man, I don't really like what Corey was saying. However, but he said he didn't like it. And
like I said, remember, this is an interpretation of your First Amendment right. This is a summary of it. This is a abbreviation of it. It's not your actual this stuff that he's reading. That's not your First Amendment right. That's some abbreviation of it. It all needs to fall into the context of it. They're saying, okay, if we go by the summary and what that actually means in the context of the word and definitions and the definition of words and stuff, it means that you can criticize others. It means that you can speak harshly. It means that you can challenge power without fear of government punishing you. It means that you can express unpopular opinion. It means that you can offend. That's what they're saying. They're saying that your First Amendment right, Congress should make no laws respecting an establishment of religion. Let me read that right for people to clip it, I guess. Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the freedom exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the people right to peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. That means you can criticize others. You can speak harshly. You can challenge power without fear of government punishment. You can express unpopular opinions. You can offend. That's what that means. Okay?
Based on the First Amendment, you have the right to offend. Offend. Was what Corey was saying, was it offensive? Right? Now, this is really the critical part right here. It says you get to challenge power without fear of government punishment.
Right.
And the First Amendment really goes
and what's the government punishment? Is that if something I say, can somebody bring me in a lawsuit?
Actually,
can somebody lawsuit me and bring me in a civil judgment? That's using the government. That's like Anton using the government to beat somebody up, to punish somebody. The government can't do it because they got to say, shit, hey, we can't get in the middle of this because he got the freedom of speech to say stupid shit even to your daughter. You get what I'm saying? Yes, absolutely. If that was a 5-year-old kid or a 10-year-old kid, we would alienate ourselves probably from Corey or anything like that. It would be a societal thing. You get what I'm saying? It's a 17-year-old 2 months away from being 18. That's a crazy situation, and that's under interpretation also. But at the same time, we can't use Corey Holcomb as a statue and an actual case filing and an actual president to destroy anybody for criticizing anybody or saying some harsh, wild shit to anybody. We can't make no precedent for that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All this does is tell me that the people that say they are not against that they're against certain things, they're against certain things until it comes to their doorstep. Until it comes to their doorstep, then all rules is out the window. All principles are out the window. All way of being is out the window, and now I must adopt the enemy's way of acting because at this moment my enemy helps me beat my enemy. So crazy. So that's why I'm saying no government. See, the problem is freedom of speech. Something that I say, I should never have the government be able to punish me for it. But what did we do? We found a loophole to say, oh, citizens using our court system to punish you for something you said. Well, if they got to use the system to punish me, in which the system is my government as well as is their government, they can't use it because it's a conflict of interest. It's my government too. So you can't use my government against me for something I said. That's how it should be looked at. I don't know what they talking about, really.
Expressing unpopular opinions. Blue was like, hey man, I don't really like what Corey was saying. However, but he said he didn't like it. And based on the First Amendment, you have the right to offend. Offend. Was what Corey was saying, was it offensive? Right? Now, this is really the critical part right here. It says you get to challenge power without fear of government punishment. And the First Amendment really goes, the primary purpose is to protect us from the government.
Absolutely.
Like Donald Trump or hate Donald Trump, you can talk bad about him. Like Joe Biden, like Obama.
That's not it. That's not it. It's not that. Of course, it's for us to criticize our presidents and our government, that senators, our congressmen, our the people that run the government and everything, departments and everything, and the president. Of course, it gives us the right to criticize them and not be in fear of them giving retribution against us for criticizing them. But it's also that we can criticize each other, and the government don't pick a side and impose on our will to communicate our freedom of speech. Meaning that don't send no bullshit ass lawsuit document to my house saying that you're suing me and you're giving me a subpoena, or you're giving me a document to say that I've been served because you don't like what I said. Because the majority of the country don't like, all of the country, every last one of the people in the country don't like what I said. Don't bring no bullshit government letter, judicial courthouse document. That's the government. That's the city government, the state government, the government of society. Don't bring that shit to my house for something I said. I have the right to say it. You can't use the government to punish me for something I said. That's what freedom of speech is.
You can talk bad about these people. Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton. Where are the emails? Where are the emails? Well, where's the Epstein files? Nobody cares about Epstein. Where are the emails?
Look, y'all, I'm going to get on Epstein. I'm supposed to have done the Venezuela, Epstein files, all kind of stuff, and I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to do my job, but it's a lot. I got to bust my ass. I got to pay for the roof over my head. I got to do what I got to do to live my life and win and make it that I can even take care of all my movies and put them into the platforms and stuff like that. It's just a lot of money. It's a lot of work. So I'm going to do these episodes, but the Epstein situation, all that so far, from everything I've seen, everything I read, everything that's been communicated for the last 15 years on this situation, okay, it looks like it's almost like it's like they framed him. You know, it's like they framed him for something, for some reason. Because I'm telling you, if they had something on Trump, they would have released it. There's no way that is. Don't worry about it. He ain't hiding it. Ain't no way that a person like Pam Bundy, she not gonna see some salacious stuff about Trump and keep on going out and validating his name and all the other women there. You're not gonna see it. I think so far, all the stuff that was communicated, so much of it is he say, she say stuff. And because a group of people decided to come together and say a person is a monster, you gotta have factual evidence that they are. And I don't think they did. Even like what evidence did they use in the actual ladies, the Glaxwell's actual case? Because that evidence is what should be able to use against Epstein to convict him. And so far, everything that they said that she did, it's a he say she say thing. It's her word against like other people that she's like, oh my God, I never was really around you like that or anything like that or stuff like that. I'm not saying that she's telling the truth. She might be a stone cold liar. I'm telling you, the evidence is a he say, she say thing. You get what I'm saying? And there, by the time a lot of these cases happen, these people were in their 20s and their 30s and stuff. So I don't know if they were 16, 17, or if they were 19, 20, 21. I don't know. I have no idea. We got to get factual evidence to show at the time that they were of that age that is some kind of paper trail to them. Maybe it is. That's the evidence I'm waiting to see. And I'm going through the documents to track down, and I'm just telling you, there's nothing out there like that. It is communication, because if they got transferred, you giving a person money when they're 21, they're saying, well, they knew that person at 14 or 15 or 16, and that's when they started the relationship. Well, I can't like put a person in jail because you're saying that they did something to you when they was 14 or 15, but you transactioning with this person years afterward. You're still dealing with this person years after, decades after. And it's just, that's my issue. I'm not saying that nothing happened to the girls. I'm saying they don't have evidence. Not enough. I'm not saying that they didn't. Some stuff that that knucklehead and crazy Epstein was doing, the stuff like, you know, that they prosecuted him for back in 2007, or like back in the times where I think a couple of those girls was like high school and stuff. They was really coming by to give them a massage for $200 and stuff. And they got a paper trail of that, or that at least at the time of, it was communicated that the girls was over at this guy's house having a good time and stuff and doing whatever they doing, making money. And there was a bunch of girls recruiting each other out of a high school, say, hey, will you come over to this guy's house and make some money doing a massage and everything like that. And then it got turned into a monster situation because you got a lot of law people involved. You got a lot of crazy stuff that start to kind of communicate, and he's a billionaire, and if power wants a billionaire hurt, they're gonna find a way to do it, and if you can use these subjects for it, that's so be it. But so far, that's what I need to see right now. That's what I need to see. I'm telling you, yes, highly likely a lot of people was doing some wild stuff with Epstein, but I don't know, was that with adults or was it with underage people? I don't know, and I gotta go where the evidence tells me. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get what the evidence is so we can know exactly, not the perception of testimony. I don't care about testimony. I care about facts. Testimony is not facts. Testimony is a collective opinion. That's not facts. It shouldn't be able to be held up in court. Facts should tell people this is what happened to these people at that time, and it shows that it did. That's the sad part about our freedoms, and our freedoms to protect us from the people's will against us. The truth shall rise to the top, always. Okay? But when he says where the Epstein files, and nobody cares about the Epstein files, yes, they do. We care about the Epstein files. But at the same time, so far, if you really stop being emotional and you look at everything we know about it, in the hundreds, and we talking about 800,000 documents got released. And everybody said, oh, but they still holding another 600 or 500. Dude, what the hell? A million point two documents, and you got 700,000 documents. That's ridiculous. But look, let's let them go.
Mails. Where's the laptop? You can ask all these questions. No one's gonna come knocking at your door. No KGB. Right? So this is an amazing protection that we have. We see here that courts take free speech seriously. All right. So presumptively, that means by default, initially, what Corey says is protected, particularly when it comes to the government.
It's not. Lead attorney. I'm sorry, you guys, but this is one of the major things I wanted to. When you guys are talking and debating this lawsuit situation, I just want you to know what's supposed to be what's supposed to be held, and what's supposed to be the ruling decision and deciding factor under Anton Daniels suing Corey Holcomb because Corey Holcomb's called out or said some horrendous shit about his wife and his kid. I'm just telling you guys what's supposed to be the actual decision-making structure to what to do with it. You get what I'm saying? Congress shall make no law, no statutes, none, respecting an establishment of religion. Leave it alone. Don't talk to me about my religion. Or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of. You want me to know it? Look up abridging, okay? Abridge, shortening, without losing the sense, okay? Curtail, meaning you cannot shorten, you cannot abbreviate, you cannot give an interpretation or summarize my freedom of speech. That's what abridging the freedom of a speech, or abridging the freedom of speech, or abridging the freedom of speech. You know what that means? I need you guys to take that in. Or abridging the freedom of speech. Forgive me for my bad reading, but or abridging the freedom of speech. What does that mean? Or abridging the freedom of speech. You can't shorten. You can't summarize. You can't abbreviate. You can't summarize or have a perspective of my freedom of speech. I have freedom of speech. That is not to be interpreted or summarized or given to in this perspective of what freedom of speech means. It means freedom of speech. That's why they put or abridging the freedom of speech, meaning you can't interpretate what freedom of speech is. It's freedom of speech. I have the free to communicate. You get what I'm saying? Or of the press freedom of speech, or the right of people peacefully to assemble to communicate their freedom of speech, and to petition the government for a redress of grievance, or to petition the government for a redress of grievance, meaning if you don't like what the government is doing, you get to be wild about how you want them to straighten that stuff up. Not January 6th. That, don't get freaked out, y'all. That was a good thing. That's how you actually communicate to your government. It looks wild. It looks wild. Majority of people was there to communicate, was to express verbally. They were actually there to do it the right way. You had FBI, you had CIA, and allegedly, and it's documents in the government now to say for sure that FBI agents was undercover in the group agitating some of the knucklehead Antifa people. You had Antifa members, allegedly. You had Antifa members, you had FBI agents, you had some CIA people in there, allegedly integrated into the crowd to agitate some of the knuckleheads in there to break, I think about four windows, okay? and have a fight with about a couple hundred people kind of scuffling with each other all throughout that whole thing. Okay? That's the truth. Okay? So allegedly, it was a coup. It was a way to make Donald Trump look ridiculous and to delegitimize his supporters. Because guess what? The only thing that they didn't have on Trump and his supporters, that they was radical Minnesota protesters burning up the city and all this. You could never say that about the Donald Trump supporters. They never tore up anything. They never did riots or anything. And liberals and the government hated that so much. And even our intelligence agency allegedly hates it so much that they found a way to delegitimize Trump and his supporters by instigating and structuring a wild protest in front of the Capitol building. Because everybody was there. Everybody was neutral. Most of the people would never have done no shit like that. Never. But if you go deep into it, see the agitators, see who the agitators are, see all the different documents that they have on this stuff. Allegedly, FBI, CIA, and Antifa was there to get some ruckus stuff. So a lot of stuff you see on the streets through all the protests and all that stuff, they got paid well to be there to wear MAGA gear and Make America Great Again gear and American gear and act like they was part of the message that those people were trying to communicate. But what they did was they started doing raucous stuff. They started breaking stuff. They started doing all kind of stuff to agitate the situation. And then give the narrative that Donald Trump supporters are wild, reckless animals. But really, they're constitutional patriots. I know. I might get flagged on it. Yeah. Okay. I know. But just remember with the First Amendment, when a lead attorney talking crazy, just remember what the real letter of the law says.
Now, what's the problem?
Ain't no problem. Your interpretation of it.
On his show, was Corey talking about the government?
You don't got to talk about the government. See? Like already. That doesn't. Congress shall make no law respecting an establish of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof religion, abridging the freedom of speech. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. We ain't talking about his petitioning the government for redressing of grievance. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. So what the fuck are you talking about? He wasn't talking about no government. He don't have to talk about no government.
Corey wanted to know about what them white boys. What he asked Anton? Tell me what the white boys. I can't do a Corey impression. What do the white men do that what did he say, that destroyed a nation? I couldn't even understand the question. And Anton was like, hold up, slow down now. Slow down. You trying to get me to go on your narrative. Corey was like, and this is why I don't respect you as a man. Corey was preaching.
And I don't like all that stupid stuff Corey be talking. He was talking that black Afrocentric stupid shit. And what has that done to us? Made us destroy each other. So it's dumb. I don't like none of that stuff. I don't like none of that. I don't watch people like Corey Holcomb. I don't like that stuff. It's stupid. It's the low common denominator type of conversations and emotion stuff and all that other stuff. But I want you guys to understand, we cannot let people make presidents against our freedoms. You can't. You can't let Anton Daniels. You can't let nobody make presidents against our freedom. What I mean by president means like okay, if somebody sues somebody for something and they're rude, they win, or if a government prosecutes somebody for something and they found guilty on it, that makes president. So now you could be tried, you could be convicted, you could be brought up in charges for certain things and certain phrasings and interpretations of certain things because it is known that it went through the processes of our system. So now it's something to say, well, case filing Corey Holcomb versus Anton Daniels, this citizen was found guilty for making raunchy conversation or making terrible, horrible communication towards his family, his daughter, and his wife. So this person is allowed to bring charges up on this person, or civil lawsuits, bring in a civil lawsuit against this person because that's how it would be. That's what president means, not president. President. Okay, it's the you make it part of the way that we interact now, because now it's something that has been proven to be a way that people interact with each other, or ruling of people interacting with each other. Now that it has been ruled over that, we now see it as normality inside of our lives. I hope I explained that. I know I'm starting a little exhausted a little bit, but at the same time, I'm enraged too.
This is when I started to lose respect for you. Because you're kissing the white man's ass. You don't want to talk bad about him. Oh, I'm kissing the white man's ass. You're kissing the white man's ass. Well, Corey Holcomb, you suck. Wait. I do what? Say it again. Say it again. Things got testy. Were Corey's comments that were directed at Anton, that were directed at the wife, that were directed at the child, were those words against a government, or were there those words against particular members of the community? Or the community?
What is he talking about? What are you talking about? Rich, famous, lead attorney? A dumb person like me, I'm not rich. In Detroit, Michigan, I'm outlawing you on the First Amendment on a podcast? Really? Like, really? What is you talking about? I'm gonna rewind that.
What the white boys? I can't do a Corey impression. What do the white men do that what did he say, that destroyed a nation? I couldn't even understand the question. And Anton was like, hold up, slow down now. Slow down. You trying to get me to go on your narrative. Corey was like, and this is why I don't respect you as a man. Corey was preaching. This is when I started to lose respect for you. Because you're kissing the white man's ass. You don't want to talk bad about him. Oh, I'm kissing the white man's ass. You're kissing the white man's ass. Well, Corey Holcomb, you suck. Wait. I do what? Say it again. Say it again. Things got testy. Were Corey's comments that were directed at Anton, that were directed at the wife, that were directed at the child, were those words against a government, or were there those words against particular members of the community?
Do you guys understand that? This lawyer that's worth a lot of money, that get paid big bucks for counsel, he got that big old that thing behind him because he got a lot of subscribers, probably millions of subscribers, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, whatever, 500,000 subscribers, whatever it is. He's well funded in his podcast world, and he's well funded in his legalese world, and people love him and they use him and like crazy. He just asked, you gotta really look at this. He just asked, let me make sure I'm framed up on my mirror right. He just asked if what Corey Holcomb said to Anton about his wife and his child about the government. Otherwise, he doesn't have the freedom of speech to say anything towards them. So the only way he can say something towards them is if it's about the government. If he says something in discrimination or in offensive or anything towards them, he don't have the freedom of that. Yes, he do. He has the freedom to say what he wants. Okay? We can offend everybody. We can't. You know, we don't think it's best practices. Okay? Congress should make no laws, meaning that we can't say people have the freedom of speech, but we forgot to put in that they can't offend each other. They can't offend each other. They can't offend their neighbor. They can't offend kids. They can't offend people with their communication. Well, in order to stop me from being able to offend a kid or Anton's daughter or Anton's wife, then you would have to make a law in order for me to not be able to do that, because it's a statute that I could be arrested, or I could be brought up in charges, or I can be put into court proceedings, or I can have civil liability, which that's a court process, which that's a judicial system process, or courthouse process, which that would be a government establishment, a government entity situation for me to be able to be brought up on charges or brought up on civil liability. In order to do that, you would have to make that you would have to make that a law. You would have to make that a right of the court to have a proceeding for. So that's in order for you to make that a right, it's got to be passed by Congress, Congress of the state, Congress of the government, a U.S. government. So Congress should make no law respecting as an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, shortening, abbreviating the freedom of speech. You can't tell me what I could say or what could come out of my mouth. The truth in time and back and forth communication should make it bubble to the top what the truth, what fairness is, and how you give resolution to something that I say. Okay? How it is. Oh man, you talking about my kid? I quit. Oh man, this is wild. This is getting too wild. I might lose my freedoms because I don't know how to act because you just crossed the line. I don't even want to play this game no more. We done. Don't say nothing else, or I'm gonna lose my freedom, or I'm gonna lose my ability to wanna just make the bag. That's what this means, Anton. That's what it means, lead attorney. Yes, I live in a real world. I do know that we got illegal laws and illegal statutes that allows for you to sue somebody and hurt somebody financially using the court systems and the government systems of your city, your state, to be able to prosecute somebody for saying something harshly or disturbing to your wife and your kid. I'm telling you, there are legal laws. Okay? But do people got enough money to take it all the way up to the Supreme Court to get ruled on? Okay? That's the problem here. So he doesn't have to say anything in context of the government when he's communicating some terrible rhetoric towards Anton or his family.
Or the community, since they are all black. The First Amendment has limits, okay? It does
This is not the Constitution, y'all. This is not your First Amendment right, okay, y'all? I just read to you what the First Amendment right is, what your First Amendment right is. I just read it to you, okay? I just read it to you. That they can't make a law to give abbreviations or an actual subversion or a substitution to government. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. And you got to remember, it says Congress should make no law abridging the freedom of speech. The freedom of speech. The freedom of speech under any circumstances, any scenario. The freedom of speech. Okay? This is just abbreviation. This is just some silly ass AI systems giving you a analysis of all court proceedings, all Supreme Court interpretations of the First Amendment. These are not real laws. These are fake laws and statutes that we all live by, and we abide by them, and we scare of them, and we hide under our covers, and we hide in our closets, and we get fearful of them on a day-to-day basis. Fake statutes, fake laws in our government. We have thousands and tens of thousands of them that rule over us on a day-to-day basis, and they're illegal. They're illegal statutes. They're illegal laws. But lawyers love to abide by them. Lawyers love to not want to be like, you got to ask yourself, why do people like the lead attorney that got plenty of money? He got plenty of education in law. Why is he not going to take some of these statutes down? To fight these statutes out of existence. To get rulings of these statutes out of it, because all of it is illegitimate. Some things that you fight all the way to the Supreme Court could be so biased that they rule against something that's logically, it's in your Constitution, it's your constitutional right, but they'll find some interpretation or some abbreviation or some perspective way of communicating it for their own biases. That's the problem, y'all. So when he starts reading the freedom of speech, you got the freedom of speech under this interpretation of you can offend people, you can do all this. So yeah, that's okay, that's good. But now we're giving it like a First Amendment does not allow. Like who said that? Oh, it was a statute. It was a law that was created after the Constitution documents in the First Amendment document. So after the 11th Amendment, somebody wrote another amendment to completely take away our rights of the original structure of the Constitution. That's illegal. But even if they did it, one law we know, one statute we know, one constitutional right that we know is the freedom of speech. It says you can't even abridge it. You can't even amend the First Amendment. That's what it says in it. That's what it says. It says, hey, y'all might do some dumb shit to the other amendments, but you cannot abridge the freedom of speech. You can't amend that. Can't reinterpret that. You can't shorten it. That's what abridging means, shorten it. You can't shorten it. You can't take away the fullness of it. That's what abridging means. So one constitutional right we have, one First Amendment right we have is you can't even abridge, you can't even shorten, you can't abbreviate, you can't perceive any construction of the freedom of speech. Why is the lead attorney giving you lists of conditions to the First Amendment?
Doesn't mean that you can say anything about anyone with no consequences.
Yes, it does. Because how you gonna give me consequences? Consequences is to say that somebody can, with something I say, they could come to my doorstep and bring violence to me. Yeah, they could do that. That's a consequence. Absolutely, that's the right. That's the right of the individual to do whatever they want to do in order to bring grievance to me for saying something against their family and their kids and stuff like that. If I'm not saying anything against Anton Daniels' family, that's what Corey Holcomb did. I'm just saying I'm using the conversation with the lead attorney. The consequences is, yeah, you can't stop another person from reacting to me. Okay? But for our government to be used in order to inflict pain or grievances or a civil liability upon me, that's physical now. Civil liabilities mean I got to do something physical to balance this out. If I lose the case, I got to give up my money. I got to give up my possessions. I got to get something that I possess. Physically, I possess it, and I got to give it to you. That's the government taking on physical harm to me. Because I said something that falls under my freedom of speech. Well, you can't say nothing about a person's kid. You can't say something about their family. It's my right to say whatever I want out my mouth. It's my right to say whatever I want in my mouth. I have the freedom of speech. Well, this statute, this case filing, this law, the case ruling under the Supreme Court, I don't care what that case says. That's abridging and shortening and abbreviating and giving it to conversation and giving it to evaluation my freedom of speech. Nothing that the Supreme Court should say should ever give into any interpretation or any abbreviation or any shortening the freedom of speech. This is not up to debate how my freedom of speech should be and what's the consequences of my freedom of speech. That's not up to debate, because you got to use government to do that. That's wild.
You can say it.
And whose government? Congress. No statute, no laws. Nothing can get read up to the Supreme Court without a ruling of Congress. In order for it to be a ruling of Congress, they had to put it in writing and they had to make it a statute. They had to make it a law. But if it's a law talking about my freedom of speech, it ain't no law. It's not real. It's a fake law.
But there might be consequences. You can say it, but you are not necessarily immune, protected from civil.
This is bullshit, y'all. I don't know why the lead attorney said this stuff, but it's because he can rule on it. He can kind of go to court and he can actually prosecute it like this. And these are the rules that they move around in. So in order for you to fight this, you got to take on the law books. You got to take on statutes of the Congress. You got to take on the rulings of the Supreme Court. And you have to validate that no law is supposed to be made to stop me from having freedom of speech. No law. So why are there laws stopping me from having the freedom of speech? Because you can say shameful and ridiculous and salacious shit out your mouth, and we gotta minimize people just doing that on a day-to-day basis. No, that ain't how you do it. Back and forth, the way that people communicate, the way that some people may turn it into a physical thing. So that situation may make people say, hey man, I don't want to say too much of what I got going on in my head, because at any minute somebody could try to kill me for something I said, or somebody could do something to harm me, or it could get a little bit crazy to where I don't want to live a whole life fighting. And that will be the consequences. That will be the self-regulation of freedom of speech. That's what your constitutional rights is. This shit is garbage.
Liability. All right, speech.
But my point of all, they're doing this lead attorney situation, and I'm gonna let him kind of do his thing, and I'm pretty much, maybe I'll let him go a little bit more, but because it's punishment and civil. But this is wow. But I just want you guys to know we have a broken society. It is not an individual society. It's not a constitutional society. It's the elitist society, Whoever got enough money, whoever got enough power, they rule over you. So we're right back where the king is. We're right back where the whole point of the colonials coming over here to free themselves from government, to free themselves from rulings. We're ruled by our podcasters. We're ruled by our social influencers. We're ruled by movie stars. We're ruled by musicians. We're ruled by politicians. We're ruled by government elites. We're ruled by people that have more money, more success, and more ability to make us submit to their will and what they all agree upon to rule us. It's like an elitist royalty society now. You know what I'm saying? So we're back in like 1600s now. How we actually correspond with each other in America. Isn't that great? That's what Anton Daniels talking about, suing somebody for saying something about his wife and his kid, and they're in shambles. I hate that. I don't like it. It was like, yeah, I did laugh. What he said was funny as hell. It was funny, and he's a comedian, and we're watching it. So if he say something, yes, well, it was extremely abrasive, but also he's a comedian that's talking irony. And the crazy, I've seen stuff that Anton Daniels say, and he goes on a rant, and he does like real bombastic communication, and it's well done, well communicated, and it's not practice. It's the top of his head. He's doing his thing. He's communicating him, and it's like it's very harsh and it's off the hook and everything, but it's great entertainment to make your heart feel something, to make you feel like it's some perspectives out there that's very aggressive, and you watch it and you observe it and you understand the conversations that are that's going on in America and everything, you know, and because nobody brought it to your doorstep, don't mean that we should not perceive that if somebody does bring it to your doorstep, you can keep it going, because now we're in joking thing. So now he used your family against you. You got to use his family against him. You know what I'm saying? It's horrible, but that's how you deal with it. You deal with it in a sporadic method, back and forth. That's what it says in the Constitution. That's how you deal with this stuff. You don't use the government to overpower somebody and inflict physical altercation on them. You know what I mean? And you using statutes that are not real statutes. They're laws that have been put in our system for the last 70 to 100 70 to 100 years that was never supposed to be there. Okay? I'm gonna let the lead attorney say a couple more things, and I'm gonna end this with this, and I'm gonna do a continuation so I can go back to the actual situation. I may pick up, because he's not gonna say much different than what he's saying right now, but I just wanted to make that point.
Evaluated for harm in private disputes. All right, so listen, the Constitution gives you a right to free speech, but guys, just remember, it is not a free pass.
Yes, it is.
It is not a free pass.
Yes, it is. It's a free pass, y'all. Obviously, gotta know how to conduct yourself with other people, because the other people have freedom to how can I say, to impose whatever will they want on you. They can physically do that. Individual citizens can do what they need to do. It's not legal. They're going to have consequences to it. It's punishment for it. It's statutes for it. But statutes are for, when you make a law, it must uphold your constitutional rights. All laws should uphold your constitutional rights. Do you understand that? So whatever statutes that exist, it should uphold your constitutional rights, meaning that there should not be a law that infringes on your constitutional rights. It should make sure that your constitutional rights are abided by other citizens. That other citizens shouldn't be able to take away your constitutional rights. That's what laws are for. So it's consequences for taking somebody's freedom of speech away from them. That's what a law statute should be. It's consequences for trying to take somebody's life because that's their freedom to live. They have the freedom to if they're not inflicting any harm on somebody else or trying to take somebody's life from them, then they have freedom to actually keep living and being a free person in society. Otherwise, there are consequences. You get prosecuted, you get put in jail, you get everything taken away from you because you're responsible for a person's death, and they wage the civil liability against you because you took a person's life. And so the life that they would have had, the kind of life style that they would have accumulated, or what they would have done if they were alive, you must take on that burden. Why? Because you took the consequences of taking somebody's life. There's a consequences of unaliving somebody. That's how they want you to speak about it. I don't know how. I might get flagged like hell. So I'm trying to give you guys a quick summary of this, so I won't be on here. I think I'm 2 hours in. I gotta end this so we can kind of keep things compact. So obviously I'm doing another one to continuate this, but let's let them finish up or say a little bit more.
Now, again, you might be free from government punishment, but you're not necessarily.
What is government punishment? Key distinction: government punishment versus civil accountability. What's civil accountability? Only way you can have civil accountability is you have to use the court proceedings. Only way you get court proceedings is it's got to be granted by the state, city, or state. Only to be granted by the city or state, it's got to be written into the constitution of that city or state, or the actual laws of that city or state, that the citizen can use the court proceeding to give civil accountability, civil liability against another citizen, meaning that you're using the government of that state in order to impose your will on that citizen. Government punishment for the freedom of speech. Now, maybe the other amendments, maybe your other rights don't really have it where you can't use the government, that you can actually use the government against you. But I know one thing for sure: freedom of speech. You can't use a government proceeding in order to infringe on a person's civil freedom of speech. Why? It's in the written document of the Constitution, and every statute thereafter should be followed, that it cannot abridge. Congress cannot make a law. Your city council, your state Congress, or the U.S. Congress should not make a law abridging on the freedom of speech, on your freedom of speech. Okay? That's what it is, y'all. You may not like that, but that's what it is. So he's talking about government punishment versus civil accountability. That's crazy. That's an oxymoron. That's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Necessarily free from civil accountability. And what does Anton always talk about? I
don't care about his accountability stuff. This is where Anton rhetoric stops. This is where Anton's power stops, at freedom of speech. But if you guys and a court of his peers decide to say, we don't care about what the Constitution says, we don't care about what the rights of individual citizens are, and a person's freedom of speech is, we're not going to uphold that. We're going to make precedent, and we're going to make continuation of different scenarios where we don't have to uphold our freedom of speech. We're going to be more into that bottomless pit in order to justify somebody's revenge on someone's talking about their kid. That's wild. That hurts us all in the end. That's why YouTube is like it is. They're doing all this wild stuff, and they're actually not even supposed to regulate freedom of speech on this platform. Otherwise, they get fined. They got exempt status because they they say that they're a freedom of speech platform. If they impose restrictions on people's freedom of speech, they're supposed to lose their government the government. I don't know. I'm losing my thought process, but they're exempt status. So they're not supposed to do that. So, but come on, y'all, you guys saying SA. We can't say the real word, so we say SA. We can't say certain things about black women. We can't talk about the LGBTQIA plus community in a certain way. We can't talk about the small hats. You know what I'm saying? All this crazy terminology that restricts people from being able to communicate what they say. And if I play y'all stuff that Anton Daniel says, it's some vile, wild stuff that he says. Just as disgusting as what Corey Holcomb says. He ain't talking about no kids' looks or something like that, or a daughter's looks or something like that, but at the same time, it's foul. And I love it. I'm a flip person. I love profanity. I love like extremities. I'm a big fan of it. But come on, y'all. Congress should make no law. You got to remember, it says Congress should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof religion, because it's actually referring to the establishment of religion or the freedom of doing religion. Or it says or, so that means in order to, when it says or, you have to continuate it to what's the premise. Congress shall make no law. You get what I'm saying? Congress should make no law abridging the freedom of speech. No law. The only way you can use a court proceeding to put somebody into legal civil liability is it's got to be a law. It's got to be a statute. It's got to be a phrasing of a person's rights to take somebody into civil liability. You can take somebody into civil liability for everything under the sun except the freedom of speech. Why? Because they said you guys may find a way to interpretate and do all kind of crazy abbreviations or summarizing or give you different perspectives or perception of what freedom of speech is, but we're going to make sure you don't do that. We're going to make sure that you don't do that. You can do it to any other amendment. You can do it to any other rights of a human being, of the American constitutional rights, but you cannot do it to freedom of speech. We're going to put it in the wording of it. We're going to actually say Congress shall make no laws shortening the freedom of speech, abridging the freedom of speech. That's what that means. Okay, I don't know what the lead attorney's talking about. I know I'm right. And I'm a nobody. I'm like, my podcast ain't got that many viewers, but hopefully you guys hear this, and I'll see you on the next one. Actually, all I'm gonna do is do a continuation of this, but I just wanted to kind of bring you guys in and talk to you guys for a second about this and continuate it. Obviously, this will be about 4 or 5 hours if I kept going. So what I'm gonna do is just come right back in when I continuate this, and we'll talk about the rest of this, and maybe I'll let him talk a little bit more. Okay. So my name is Daris D. McKinney. Hit that like, follow, subscribe. We're building a panel, so I need you guys to hit that individualperspectivepodcast at gmail.com. Individualperspectivepodcast at gmail.com. My name is Daris D. McKinney. Put your email in there. I want you to be part of our panel. We can send you a link and we can start doing some talking. Okay? And I could go over some of this stuff with you guys, and you guys can give me your opinion on it and all that good stuff. The lead attorney, I'll be back to you on the next episode when I come back to finish you up. But I hope you come across this too. Maybe I need to cut it up in order for it to go viral. Okay. I'll check you guys out. thank you for joining us. My name is Daris D. McKinney, and I'll see you in the next one.